Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. It's been a minute. It's been a fucking minute. But this year, the process was a little different for me. I really took time to scout this year. In the past, it's kind of just been, stringing together what I thought was scouting. And then last summer, I went to something called the Scouting Academy. If you guys are into this, I highly recommend it. But basically, it teaches you the like the little things in scouting and all the way up to the big things, and really helps you get a better understanding of how little you know, which helps you learn more, obviously. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty useful process for me. That being said, I'm going to drop a mock draft. I don't know how many more I'll drop. It's not a lot of time till draft time, but I fully evaluated these prospects this year. I think I have a solid understanding of these prospects, way better than I have in the past. So kind of a little update on where I've been. Don't know how many views this will get, but, I figured why not. Got to get a mock draft going before the draft itself. So without further ado, let's get started. And the number one pick, you've seen it, you've heard it. It's Aidan Hutchinson. I think this will hold true on draft day. Hutchinson might not have as high of a ceiling as some of the other edge rushers in this class, but to me, he's pure. I think he's right up there with the Bosa's. I'm incredibly high on Hutchinson. I think he's so physically gifted. I think his motor is incredible. I think his competitive toughness is incredible. Does he have the bend of, some of the best edge rushers in the NFL? No. Does he have the bend of the Bosa's? No. But his pass rush package is really there. He has a plethora of pass rush moves. I think he's a really talented player, and I think he's the most safe pick at the number one spot for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At number two, this is where it gets interesting. Could they go Malik Willis? They certainly could. I'm personally not high on Malik Willis, but again, mock drafts aren't what I would do. It's what I think is going to happen. So I think that's certainly in play. I think a quarterback could be in play here. Do they go edge? Do they go Trayvon Walker? Do they go offensive tackle? Evan Neal's still here. Akeem is still here. Charles Cross is still here. I think, there's a bunch of different things that the Lions could do. But to me, I think the top two is set at this point. I think it's going to be Trayvon Walker. Now, is Trayvon a pure pass rusher? No. Is he as good as pass rushing as Hutchinson, Thibodeaux, Jermaine Johnson, some of these other guys? No. However, he is a freak athlete, and he can be used anywhere on the defensive line. I think his versatility is what makes him go so high. I think that's what's made him rise so high. Obviously, again, the athleticism's there, the speed's there. He does have good bend. I think he's raw, but with some development, he could become very good, and I think the Lions will like to go with Trayvon Walker here at 2. At 3, again, there's a bunch of different things that could go on here. Kavon Thibodeaux is still here, obviously. They could go with the offensive tackle, Evan Neal. Ikem Ekwonu, Charles Cross, and move Titus Howard into guard. I think that's certainly a possibility. Could they reach on Sauce Gardner here? Could they go Kyle Hamilton here? Although he's kind of fallen down draft boards in recent days, it seems like. I think they elect go with Evan Neal, who's the most versatile tackle in this class. I think, honestly, to me, Charles Cross is the best tackle in this class. I think Ikem Ekwonu is pretty versatile, but not as versatile as Evan Neal. Evan Neal can play any position you want him to, and I think that's what makes him so valuable. They could put him at right tackle and have Titus stay at guard. They could put Titus at right tackle, see how he plays there, and have Evan Neal play at guard. I think they're really just going to beef up through the trenches. They're the worst team in the league this year. I don't think it's really close. They have so much areas to build on, but I think here they go with Evan Neal and maybe get an edge later at that 13th spot. So I think they go Evan Neal here at 3. At 4, I think the Jets go with Akeem. Yes, they could go Sauce Gardner here. I think that's another very real possibility. But I think they go Ikem Ekwonu here. Just a guy to slide in that right tackle. You have Micaiah left tackle. You're really starting to build up through these trenches with Zach Wilson. I think this is a solid selection for the Jets. With the 5th pick, the New York Giants are on the clock, and I think this is, the run of tackles is going to go here. The top 3 guys are going to go. They're some of the best players in the class. All of them I have graded in my top 15 players in this class. I think they're well worth these picks. Charles Cross, to me, is the cleanest pass-blocking tackle in this class. I think he's very talented. I think he's very underrated, and I think he should go in the top 5, and I think a lot of teams are going to see that. I would not be surprised if he's the first tackle taken off the board, but I'm going Charles Cross here at 5 to the New York Giants. At 6 is where it gets interesting. The run of tackles has gone. The Panthers do not have their pick of the litter at tackle. Do they go quarterback? And I think they do. I think they take a risk on Malik Willis. Panthers are really in a tough spot right now. Their team's really bad. Sam Darnold's clearly not the answer. They could bring in a Baker Mayfield, but that hasn't happened yet. So I think they go Malik Willis, take their quarterback, take a risk on such a boomer bust prospect. I don't think Malik Willis is bad by any means. Do I think he's the best quarterback in this class? No, to me it's Kenny Pickett. However, Malik Willis does have that upside, and if he goes into a good situation, which to me the Panthers aren't right now, but could become, I think he really has the ability to be a really good NFL quarterback. There's just a lot that has to go on there. He's one of the worst mental processors I've ever scouted, which really scares me. He really doesn't understand the game of football, in my opinion. However, the arm talent's there, the running ability's there. And again, boomer bust, but I think the Panthers take the risks. They're in a position to take a risk. They really have nothing to lose. And I think they go Malik Willis. With the 7th pick in the draft, I think the Jets elect to go with Kavon Thibodeaux. This was a guy that had been pegged in at number 1 since the start of the offseason, has kind of fallen down draft boards. I think he's Jadeveon Clowney. I really do. I've said it in the past. You can follow my Twitter, MaxDorsey4. I tweet about the draft all the time on there. But I think Kavon Thibodeaux really is Jadeveon Clowney. He's fantastic in the run game. He's super athletic. Is he a pure pass rusher? No. Does he have a good pass rusher plan and package? No. Is he a freak athlete? Yes. He has so much upside. I think he's really just going to end up being a very good run stopper. But the Giants need all the help they can get on the defensive line, especially at that edge position. And I think Thibodeaux's athleticism allows you to kind of take this selection and his upside. He could develop into a good pass rusher. I'm not saying he won't, but right now, a lot of Jadeveon Clowney vibes. At 8, Falcons fans I've seen get mad over people mocking wide receiver. But you don't have a wide receiver that's good enough to play on this roster, especially not a good enough X. And for that reason, I think you take Drake London. He's my second highest rated receiver in this class, right behind Jameson Williams. And I'll do a whole wide receiver video because I think that's a lot of contention right now. But to me, London can play that X role. He can play that slot role. I've seen people talk about him as kind of a guy that could play that Cooper Kupp Los Angeles role. I don't see that fully, but I think he could be very effective in the slot. But again, he's a guy that can go up and get the football. He's not the cleanest route runner, but he can use his physicality to separate. I really like his competitive toughness. I think he's a really good wide receiver, and I think Drake London fits the Falcons' needs right now. They just need a guy that can play ball at that wide receiver position, and to me, that's Drake London. Here at 9, I'm going Sauce Gardner. You could go edge. The tackles are off the board, so I don't think they reach on one of those. I think they go BPA, and a lot of opinions that is Sauce Gardner. To me, Derek Stingley is the best corner in this class, and then I have Andrew Booth, and then I have Sauce Gardner. I'm a little low on him. If you guys want me to make a video about why, let me know. But to me, Sauce is a little low on my board. However, he's still a great football player. I still think he's worth a first-round pick. Just a little low on him, but I think on a lot of NFL teams' boards, he's going to be the best corner, and BPA right now for the Seahawks would be Sauce Gardner, so I think they go there. They're another team that really just needs help at every position, and they're not going to win this year, so why not just go BPA? I think that's the best strategy for these teams that are so bad. They try to turn it all around in one season by taking maybe a quarterback or reaching on a quarterback. I think if you're in that situation, you just got to go BPA, get the best player available. And for the Seahawks, like I said, I think it's Sauce Gardner. Here, this is an interesting spot for the Jets. They could go Jermaine Johnson, someone who I think is super talented. I have him as my number 2 edge rusher right behind Aidan Hutchinson. I think he's really, really good. However, you still have Kyle Hamilton on the board. You still have Derek Stingley on the board. These are all needs for the Jets. I don't think Hamilton falls past 10, man. I know a lot of people have gotten low on him because of that athleticism and maybe play speed. Or not even play speed. I think his play speed is fantastic, and I think that shows up on tape. I think people are just low on him because of his, 40 speed. So, to me, Kyle Hamilton is still a really good prospect. I think the Jets take him here at 10. I think it's a terrific pick. I think he's fantastic. And the Jets, another team that just needs help at every position. So they go Kyle Hamilton at 10. Edge class is deep. They can address that in the second round with some of these guys like Boyf Mayfield, if he's still there. David Ajabo, obviously a terrific player dealing with some injuries. I think I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but the Penn State guy, Arnold, is someone that we could see go in the first round even. I think he's a first-round talent. And in a lot of teams' eyes, George Karlaftis could fall down boards. You have guys like Nick Bonito later in the class. So, again, very deep edge class. I think the Jets could address that. And for now, get Kyle Hamilton, who to me is a top 10 player in this class, and they take him at number 10 overall. Here, I'm having trouble, but because to me, Jameson Williams is the best receiver in this class. I think he's a terrific route runner. I think his release is fantastic. I think there's a lot to love with Jameson Williams. However, I think a lot of people are going to be, or a lot of teams are going to have Garrett Wilson over Jameson Williams. So it's tough. I think you already have Garrett Wilson if you're the Commanders with Terry McLaurin. I think they're very similar players, have very similar play styles. What Terry McLaurin doesn't have is that breakaway speed and is that unreal speed that Jameson Williams possesses and that Garrett Wilson doesn't possess. Again, Garrett Wilson, terrific player, good play speed. Does he have Jameson Williams speed? No. I think for that reason, they don't go for like the same type of player that Terry McLaurin is and instead get Jameson Williams out of Alabama. With the 12th overall pick, this is a tough spot because to me Jordan Davis is a terrific football player and I see him low on a lot of people's boards and he may be low on a lot of teams' boards because of positional value, right? Like he's a pure nose tackle. That's really all he can do. He can't get after the passer that well. He's just a fantastic run stopper and takes up space. I think he's a really terrific player. But I think to me, I think he's very good and worth a top 10 pick. That might be a bold take, but to me, Jordan Davis is terrific. However, I think they elect to go with Derek Stingley here, just solidify their secondary a little more. I think it's probably their weak point on defense. They could use edge. They could use interior defensive linemen. Although they don't really need edge. They got Zadarius Smith, and they have Danielle Hunter as well. So I think Derek Stingley is a really good football player. So it's either you want to make your defensive line fantastic by adding Jordan Davis there or shoring up a weak point of your defense, which is a secondary, and I think they go with Derek Stingley. With the 13th pick, I said they could sit on it, wait for edge, and it falls right in their lap. They go with Evan Neal at 13, and now they get a guy that I think is the second best edge rusher in this class, and Jermaine Johnson at 13. So I think that's a terrific first round for the Houston Texans. I think that really helps them solidify certain spots on their team. You get a terrific offensive lineman at 3, and then get Jermaine Johnson, who is a terrific edge at 13. At 14, I don't think Jordan Davis falls past this spot. The Ravens somehow seem to always get some of the best players in the class no matter where they're picking, and I think this is a perfect example of this. If, let's say, Jordan Davis goes at 12, they can get Derek Stingley to fall in their laps at 14. So I think Jordan Davis is, I've talked about it, really good player and falls right into the Ravens' lap. Here at 15, I think Garrett Wilson doesn't fall past here. I think that's a lock if he's available at 15, right where Jerry Jeudy went in 2020, and now Garrett Wilson, another terrific wide receiver, goes at 15 here in 2022. I think it's a really good pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I like it a lot for their team. Here at 16, top tier wide receivers you could say are off the board. You could go George Pickens here. I know a lot of people are high on him recently. Chris Olave obviously is still here. Treylon Burks is still here. Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, all worthy of first round picks in my opinion. You even have guys a little later down the board. Maybe David Bell sneaks into the first round. Maybe John Mechie sneaks into the first round, depending on what teams want. But I'd say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are all worth first round picks here if you're the Saints. Do they take one here? I don't know. The offensive tackle situation is kind of thin. Trevor Penning may be the pick here, but I don't know if they go for that. Kenny Pickett's on the board. Do they take their quarterback? Devonte Wyatt's on the board. Do they take their interior defensive lineman? There's a bunch of different scenarios for the New Orleans Saints here. I think this is tough, but I've heard, obviously, from the media that teams are a lot higher on these Ohio State receivers than we think, and that a lot of the media is. So I think they might take Olave here, and that's what I'm going to go with. Get an Ohio State receiver core going with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, have that Ohio State bond in there. And I think, for the Saints right now, it's just important to get weapons, and I think Chris Olave is that. I think he's highly underrated. I think he's fallen down draft boards for no reason. He's a terrific route runner. I think he is the best release in the class, higher than Garrett Wilson, higher than Jameson Williams. Really, really solid player. Treylon Burks was someone I was thinking about for the Saints too, but again, from what I've heard, I think the Ohio State receivers are a lot higher on boards than they are in the medias, so I'm going with Chris Olave here at 16. And at 17, the Chargers go Trevor Penning. He's an athlete. That's all I can really say. He's a freak athlete. He has some personality issues. He's a hothead, no doubt. But I think he's a really terrific player and someone that could develop into a mauler at tackle. You go with Rashawn Slater last year. Now you get Trevor Penning. Your bookends are set for the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert over there. Here, this is one of my favorite players in the class. A guy that I think is highly underrated. He's my cornerback too, right behind Stingley. Andrew Booth. Probably the most fluid hips in this class, right up there with Stingley. Really, really good at man. I think he has a solid understanding of zone. Great athlete, not to mention. And I think Booth is an absolute steal here at 18 if the Eagles decide to go in that direction. And here at 19, Devonte Wyatt, I think, goes the other Georgia interior defensive lineman. What's his size? He's 6'3", 307, so he's a big guy. I think he's a little more of a pass rusher than Jordan Davis is. Still not that great, but I think he's a little more versatile. Some guy that can play in the 3 technique, perhaps. So I like Devonte Wyatt a lot to the Saints. Here at 20, I think this is the Kenny Pickett spot. You know, Mitch Trubisky, I love, MVP, but I don't think he's a long-term answer. I don't think anyone thinks he's a long-term answer. I think the Steelers keep the local kid local and go with Kenny Pickett. Here, this is an interesting one. There's all the interior offensive linemen available. Zion Johnson, Tyler Linderbaum, Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green's my favorite out of these guys. Linderbaum, I think, is fantastic, and he's going to be a steal wherever he falls in the 20s. And Zion Johnson is getting a lot of love, too. So I think the Patriots might be tempted to go with one of these guys. However, the linebackers are still here in this mock. So Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean could be interesting for the Patriots. To me, this is tough. I think the defense is always good. A Belichick defense is always going to play. You can get a linebacker in the second round. There's a lot of guys like Christian Harris a little lower. Leo Chenal, I know, has been getting a lot of love, so maybe the Patriots hold out on that and go with best player available. And to me, that's Zion Johnson. Out of Boston College, I think he's going to be the highest on most teams' boards when it comes to that interior offensive lineman position. So I think the Patriots will view him as BPA at this point. There are some guys here, maybe McDuffie, that are a little better, but again, positional value in BPA, I think Zion Johnson goes to the Patriots. At 22, you've seen it, you've heard it. I can't disagree. They need an X. They really need an X. Treylon Burks, I love. I think he's so much fun. However, he's not a pure X. He's more of a weapon. You want him on the short routes. You love his yak ability. Jahan Dotson, I don't know if he's an X. I think he's really more of a Z. I think he's the second wide receiver on a lot of teams. Sky Moore, kind of that same boat. Christian Watson's kind of a toy. You can use him wherever you want. He's got that elite speed. I think they take the risk, go George Pickens. You've seen it in a lot of mocks. I don't think that it's far out from happening. I think this is certainly something that can happen. So, George Pickens to the Packers at the 22nd spot. Here at 23, very interesting board for the Cardinals to choose from. You have George Karlaftis here. You have Boyce Mafe here. You have David Ojabo here. They also need wide receiver. They lost Christian Kirk, right? You could get one of these guys, some of the top guys still on the board. Trent McDuffie's still here. That could be an option. I think they go George Karlaftis. You lose Chandler Jones, you got to replace him. Karlaftis is purely a power rusher, but I think he's a really good pass rusher. I think he's a well-developed pass rusher. He doesn't have, the best bend. He has basically no bend, but his power to speed combination, I think, off the ball is something that I really like. I think he's an underrated player, and I think he's well worth the selection here at 23. This is a tough one, again, for the Cowboys. Trent McDuffie is here. They could use some cornerback help. Daxton Hill is here. I think that could be a selection. Or edge or interior offensive lineman. I think with Connor Williams gone, they elect to take Kenyon Green. I think Tyler Linderbaum and Kenyon Green are the two best. Again, I think teams have Zion Johnson a little higher, and that's where it might get confusing. But when I do mock drafts, it's really what I think is going to happen, not what I would do. So I think Zion Johnson's the highest rated offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman on a lot of these teams' boards. That's why the Patriots go with him. Tyler Linderbaum, if I'm taking him, I want him to play center. He can really play anywhere, but Kenny Green has versatility as well. You lose Leo Collins, you lose Connor Williams. Not that Connor Williams was that much of a loss, but I think you take Kenny Green here if you're the Dallas Cowboys. That allows Trent McDuffie to fall right into the Bills' lap. They get a terrific player there. I think that's a really nice selection for them. And then linebacker goes here. I think it's, unless they trade A.J. Brown, I don't think they go for wide receiver in the first round. They could use a right tackle. tackle. Taylor Wan's contract is expiring, so they could go for that. But with Penning off the board, I don't really think there's a tackle worthy in the first round for them. So I think they do go linebacker, and I think it's Devin Lloyd out of Utah. Here, I think it's center. I think it's Tyler Linderbaum. Of course, the rich get richer with the Bucs. Just a terrific player to slide in and play center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They really luck out on draft picks, and again, it's really a case of the rich getting richer, and they get one of the, I would say, a top 12 player in the class, and Tyler Linderbaum here at 27. At 28, this is interesting. David Ajabo's here. Could the Packers take a risk on him? Yet the Zadarius Smith replacement. Could they go Boyf May? This is tough. I mean, linebacker is an option too. I think this is the David Ajabo spot. I haven't seen him mocked in the first round that much. I think he could still go first round. He's that talented. You guys have to remember, like, before the injury, this guy was a top 10 pick. He was talked about as a top 10 pick. He's got great athleticism. Coming back from the injury is going to be tough. I grant you that. But I think he's really, really terrific. I think he would have been a top 10 pick in this class if it weren't for injury. So I think everyone has to take that into account, especially here later in the draft or of the first round. So I think Ajabo goes here to the Packers. At 29, I've seen this so much, but it's like hard to overlook. Just replacing speed with speed, and Christian Watson, the guy from North Dakota State, he's got size to him too. He's 6'4", right? A terrific player. I think that it's a solid Tyreek Hill replacement. And then at 30, back-to-back picks for the Chiefs. I think they go Dax Hill. This is a guy that can play corner. This is a guy that can play safety. This is a guy that can tackle. I think it's a really solid selection for the Chiefs. Here at 31, it's interesting. You have some of the top interior offensive linemen off the board. You have the top tackles off the board. Dax Hill just went to the Bengals. I think it's the Kaiir Elam spot. I think he's still worth a first-round pick. I still think he is worth it. He's a fantastic athlete. He's got good length to him. He's 6'1", 191 pounds. He's got good size. I think he tackles pretty well. And you see it here. He was a three-sport athlete. He's a fantastic athlete. And I think, this is a guy that kind of has fallen out of first-round talks, but I think we could certainly still see him. And then here, I'm thinking quarterback. I really am. I mean, you could talk about Treylon Burks here, a guy that I think is a first-round talent, but there's just so many other positional needs for these teams later down that I think he kind of falls. I'm going Desmond Ridder. Personally, I think Matt Corral is the second-best quarterback in this class. My quarterback rankings are Pickett, Corral, Willis, and then Ridder, and then Howell, and then Strong. But, again, this is not what I would do. This is what I think is going to happen, and I think a lot of teams have Desmond Ridder a little higher than Matt Corral. So, we're going to go Lions, wrap it up with Desmond Ridder. All right, guys, hope you enjoy the return to the mock. It was fun doing this again. Haven't done it in a while. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more draft content. Again, I'm sorry it took so long for me to post so deep into April, but I thought I would do my due diligence, do you guys a service of being absolutely sure about these players, where I stand on these players. And yeah, I really enjoyed the draft process. It was more of an individual process for me this year. I didn't share as much, but I will post another mock draft before draft day, so stay tuned for that. Take it easy, guys. Good talking to you again. Peace.